Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I am going to show you guys how we replace a leaking oil tank and how you guys might possibly be able to replace your own if you fell into that situation. Alright, so at first glance you might look at this oil tank and say that it looks pretty good for being an old tank. But we had someone here the other day and he noticed it was leaking, seeping through the bottom. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a pink tint to the oil absorbent pads right there. And it's also tough to tell, but there's some drips on the bottom side of the tank. And these aren't from like overfilling or anything. What happens is you have two lines going into the tank. One is your fill, one is the vent. So this is open to the atmosphere all year long. So particularly in the summer, condensation will accumulate on the inside of the tank and water will travel to the bottom and the tanks will rot from the inside out. So it's important to look at these from time to time and just scope the bottom out to see if they're leaking, because they can look good visually but they'll rot from the inside out. Now we got kind of lucky with this one. It's not leaking fast right now, and we also caught it when the tank was kind of low, so we don't have to really pump it out. We'll end up pumping what's in here into the new tank. You know, but if this was something that happened to you and you had a full tank, you're definitely going to need some sort of pump out tank to pump into to remove it. Did you close the Firematic yet? You tried just hitting it with a hammer on the inside one? Did it move? No. Try again. Come. We got to bust that concrete out anyways. Alright, so really the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kick on the furnace. We have the valve off on the bottom of the tank. We're just going to try and burn up the fuel that's left in this line right here. Just to make it easier to work on. And then the tank's low enough, we're going to try and shimmy it out of the way to put the new tank in, and then just pump the contents in here over. That return line went damn near the whole length into the tank.
That's supposed to.
Alright, so if you were doing this self, you could just turn the thermostat upstairs and get this thing to fire until it stops firing. I'm going to use my magnetic jumpers and just jump out these two terminals right here. Alright, so this just shut off. I'll disconnect. Turn the power off on the unit. And we're back to working on this. Now you're going to want to take this off slowly, mainly because this valve right here is what we call a Firematic, and we're not entirely sure if it's shut off all the way. You got to remember this has been in here 50 years, you know, so it still might be, you know, not completely shut. So we're just going to take our time with this, wait till this stops dripping to make sure we can disconnect fully. And so far it looks pretty good. So yeah, it was probably quite a few years ago at this point.
Right, there's that pipe.
Cemented in?
Uh-huh.
That's great.
Oh, that's looking pretty. Uh-oh.
Not good. Oh, you know what? Oh, that fell down? Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe that.
I thought so too. I thought it started leaking more. I'm just just a little more surprised that you learned from your mistake.
Oh, I still have safety glasses on, so I didn't completely learn.
Tipping the wrong way.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's important to note that we're wedging this up at the very end underneath the seam where it's more than one sheet welded together. You would not want to put pressure up underneath the bottom of this tank. Alright, so now we've got the tank moved out far enough so we can get the new tank in here. And then we can start pumping over. We'll clean up, you know, what was under here first. And then I'll go over the parts we used to put this together. Alright, so right now we're just cutting our legs down to accommodate the height for our piping to go out. So I'm cutting all these legs down to 8 inches. You could use a Sawzall or grinder to cut these if you wanted, but I like the bottom to be square to the pipe, so I'm going to use our pipe cutter. Alright, so your legs for your oil tank are literally just threaded nipples. This is our bottom valve. This is called a Firematic. It's just a shutoff valve with a added fusible link in here. So there's a piece of metal in here that has a low melting point. So God forbid if there was ever a fire in the house and the furnace was running, this would melt and stop the flow of oil to the furnace and, you know, do its best to not feed the fire any further. Next, when I'm dealing with oil fittings, I like using tape. It's not Teflon, Oil Elite Teflon. This is designed for oil and gas and pipe dope. So I put 3 wraps of tape on here and then I'll pipe over it and put it in. Ultimately, what I'm hoping, Ed, is by educating our subscriber base, we'll no longer have to do oil tank removals anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That sounds like a plan.
Right? I can't even believe you're doing that. I'm gonna watch. In fact, everyone's gonna watch. Just want the record to show that Ed is using not a pipe wrench on a brass fitting. For now, until he gets frustrated and
I was trying to be professional.
She go?
Nope.
Nope. Well, there goes that.
I tried.
All right, so next up, coming out of that valve, we've got a 3/8 nipple into a 3/8 by half increaser, and then a 1/2 by 3/8 flare fitting. We had to do this configuration because I didn't have a simple brass fitting that was 3/8 by 3/8. Oh! Ouch! How am I not bleeding? It was off of this. I can't tell if the piece is like still in me or it's in there deep.
Oh, I hate that too. Those ones hurt.
Aha!
Did you get it?
Look at this thing.
Oh, that was a good one.
Right?
Ooh, that felt good, didn't it?
Yeah. Put it back in.
That's right.
Let's just save it.
Ah, show her this one.
Around first. So the next piece we're gonna put in is our vent alarm gauge. This is what tells you how much fuel is in your tank, but it's also our vent alarm, which is how the delivery driver knows when to stop filling your tank. So what happens is you got this black piece right here, which is your whistle. And what it does is it sticks down into your tank, and as you're pumping into the tank, the air is being forced out the vent, causing it to whistle. And then once the liquid hits the vent, it stops whistling, and that's how your delivery driver knows when to stop and not overfill your tank. What?
No, the pipe wrench on.
The other thing you want to pay attention to is most of the time this is going to be sitting in the tank like this at an elbow. So when you put your fill line in, you don't want it filling directly on top of this arm. Over time, what it'll do is it'll start to bend it, and then it makes it a lot more inaccurate. Our fill is going to be coming in this line. This is our vent alarm. You can see on here, the float is pointed away from the fill. That's putting in the return right now. And then this will be our supply that we're going to put down there. So we've just got a 12-volt pump in here right now, tube going all the way to the bottom. We're going to pump from this tank into this tank. If you really wanted to, what we've done before is we've hooked up those little white water pumps on the bottom of here before the pump, you know, if you were doing it yourself. The oil over time will eat the seals in it, you know, so it's only good for a couple uses. But if you needed to transfer yourself, you could do it that way. Alright, we've got it all pumped out. There's probably less than a gallon left in here. We'll take the pump out, start getting cleaned up, get this out. Ed's setting up the threader outside. And now we just gotta put it back together. Well, I can't give the audience that view, Ed.
You're welcome.
That's for sale on his other website. Now I'm assuming the majority of you don't have a threader. So your options are you could go to your local HVAC supply store, and the bigger ones will have a mega press tool for sale, which is the clamp fittings. Or you could just pre-measure all the fittings you need and buy them from your local big box store. Alright, now that we got the tank up and on its end, you can see just how oil soaked the bottom of this is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a plug in this bottom hole while we take the tank out. That way it doesn't end up splashing out all over the place. Next we're just going to refire the furnace. We'll probably have to bleed out the lines. If it doesn't fire by itself the first try, I'll show you guys how to bleed the burner. There she goes. You know, I talked to an old guy over the weekend, and he told me he was pissed off at Al Gore.
At Al Gore?
Yeah, and I asked him why, and he said because he promised me Fort Lauderdale and Fort Edward. I said, yeah, I can see how that would make you mad.
Yeah, I'd be very, I mean, don't make promises you can't keep.
That's right. But he was about to make out on this global warming thing. All right, so this is where we're at so far. We're completely piped outside. We just got to get our 2 lengths coming up. And I just picked up some cement to re-cement this in, and we're all done. On top of the vent in here, we're gonna have a cap with a screen in it. Keep bugs out. And then you probably can't get these at your big box stores. It'll have to be an HVAC store. But this is what we call, come on, a scully fitting. So this will go on top of our fill pipe here. And this is designed to lock right onto the fill nozzle of the oil truck. I got a delivery truck coming soon. I'll see if I can show you. But it really helps diminishing splashbacks like against houses and spills. So much to the point where we stock them on all of our trucks and we just change them on just about every account. We don't even charge the customer for them just because it creates so much less headaches not having to clean up oil off someone's house.
This one's the newer one. This actually, I'm gonna go grab the pipe wrench.
You grab the level 2? Yeah. For what? What do you need that for? It's
What is the level?
I think it's inside. What's the level? What's on the inside?
Don't make the fill pipe.
Yeah.
Had the problem with this that one day, but
What
got
problem?
it fixed. The trigger.
Oh, that's looking nice, Edward.
Lead up a little bit so I can start forming it without dragging
And there you have it, all cemented in. You don't need to cement them in. We were just reusing the spot that these came out last time. So we cemented them in so that they don't get rodents or, you know, bugs or whatever in there. All right, and there you have it, everyone. This leaking oil tank has been changed out. Everything's been started up. Just a couple final thoughts, guys, before we wrap up. If you're gonna attempt to do something like this yourself, you know, it's not particularly technical to do, but you do got to think about when you're pumping that fuel out. You know, if you are using a fuel transfer pump like we were, you know, the bottom of that tank is very very thin at this point, and you know, you want to be gentle putting that pump in the tank. You don't want to go stabbing it through the bottom. And you want to make sure that, you know, you have your Firematic on there and the whistle. I went through what all that was for, and I hope you could hear it on video when we delivered what the whistle sounds like and what it doesn't sound like when the tank's full. So if you guys got any questions on how to do something like this, or you know, maybe something I missed in the process, drop it down in the comments below. I'll answer it for you, and we'll see you guys again on the next video. Thanks.